Maj Monologues, I think I decided to do it because I was getting a little bit, not bored, and I do love being a mum, but I just needed something else as well. And it was a way to be creative and to do something just for myself.
There should be more things like this that allow writers to, to give anybody an opportunity to submit some work and see where it takes them.
The Maj Monologues is a fabulous opportunity. I've been in it once before and it was really validating for me, and it came just at a point where I was still wanting to be a writer, and that cemented for me that I am a writer because I had people tell me that they appreciated what I did, and so it made me it cemented in my own mind much more that I actually am a writer and I can do this. It was intensely encouraging.
Most of my life I've worked with children with special needs. And I feel very strongly about particularly helping people with disabilities to gain equal rights in society, and I've expanded that to include all people who are discriminated against, and part of what I love about writing is the opportunity to give some of those people a voice.
There was a moment I came to when I realised I had no choice, that really I couldn't do anything else, as in whatever I did would be just a defeat. So you realise the coinage you're after is not money, but it is that kind of solving the problem.
I was forced to do ballet and music, and I was forced to be creative. I gave all those things up as soon as I could, and I stuck with the writing and singing, so I've been doing those ever since.
It happened very early on, actually. I think probably when I was about 4 or 5, and I started an extremely good impersonation of Miss Piggy, which was well known throughout my friends and family, and basically from that point on I realised that I had to do something to do with performing arts.
I think I always wanted to be a writer, and I don't think I was brave enough or courageous enough to follow that dream until recently. Maybe that's what life teaches you as you go along. You really need to be true to yourself and do what's right for you.
As a child, I always used to have exercise books and write stories, so I think it's just a progression from that, really. When I was 18, I went to art school after leaving school and not really knowing what I wanted to do. And I was a typical art school dropout, and it was at that point that I decided rather naively that I would be a writer.
The monologues are from the perspective of a guy who's in a painting class, and the inspiration actually came from my life because I'm a life model, it came from an incident one day in a class. We had 2 classes, the first week of painting, and then the second week they came back to do the same painting. And when he came back the second week, he was sitting so much closer to me than he had been the first time, and I suddenly had this thought of, I wonder if he knows. And I wonder if he knows, is he embarrassed, and what's he thinking I might think? And so I started to think about the concept of what if someone in this situation wanted to ask the model out, how on earth would that play out?
It's a 14-year-old schoolgirl, and she talks like a 14-year-old schoolgirl and does things that 14-year-old schoolgirls do, and watches the television shows that they watch, and has very warped views on life as 14-year-old girls do. I catch the bus every morning to work, and it's pretty much, a lot of it is what I hear from these girls on the bus.
He thought he was bored tonight. Nothing better to do than stand on an overpass and wee on innocent drivers driving home from a pleasant Tupperware party.
Curse you, the overweight Lily Mangles, my 5-year-old dance partner from Tiny Tots Ballet, and the Swan Lake pas de deux that inspired such upper body development.
She's off having her feet done. I told her, I said, Elsie, that's it from me. From now on, no more feet. As far as I'm concerned, those feet of yours fall within the domain of the professionals. I can do the endless pots of tea, I can do listening to the wireless, I can do the cutting up of the meat. I can put up with charades night, Scrabble night, talk about your bowel movements night. I suffer for a living, I can tolerate anything, but not feet, not anymore, thanks to frostbite.
Everything really does come from my experiences, people I've met, and I do feel inspired. I don't feel like I can force it. That's not to say that I sit down at the computer and think, oh, I'm not in the mood today. I don't. I look for things that have happened in my life and people I've met to inspire me in that moment.
You have to recognise it as the thing you need to do. You need to do. And once you've said, I need to do this, then from that point on, you're successful at it.
I think it takes great courage to write something and to make it public that that's what you're trying to do, because the chances are you might not succeed. You have to be brave about that, and I think that many people, it takes them a long time to summon up the courage to do something.
Getting it out there is something that's, for me, has been quite difficult. So that's really satisfying to finally get it out there. It's a little bit scary as well, because you want the audience reaction to be good, and you don't, especially with comedy, you don't quite know what the reaction is going to be, because people's sense of humour is quite subjective.
I guess my first point of success is getting to the end of the piece, having done, draft after draft, and actually feeling like it's finished. I mean, when you go back, however many months or years later, you still change bits, but that realisation that you've got the real guts of it down is kind of my first acknowledgement of success.
I think success is about fitting the pieces of the jigsaw together, so that it's creating something. It's almost like, it sounds terribly cliche, but it's like a process of birth. All of a sudden you've got this thing that takes on its own life force.
I suppose success to me was, in the past, doing a lot of travelling internationally and performing, and without the money, never with the money, but always with the travelling and the fun involved, and I would just like to do more of that. I'd also like to have funds with it, but for me that's success, is actually travelling around a lot, because that's what I like doing.
When you get happy, that's when you find success. I'm at a point in my life where I'm very happy and I feel very successful.